Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Exeter Planning Board of September 8th, 2022. And we're going to start off with, introducing the members of the board this evening. I'm Langdon Plummer, and I'm chair of the board, and to my left is...
Aaron Brown.
Nancy Belanger, Select Board Representative.
Thank you.
You want to go first?
Sure, Jennifer Martell.
Pete Cameron.
All right, so we're here, and our first order of business is to look at the minutes of July 14, which are in our packet. Open the... Any corrections, modifications? Pete?
Yeah, I think I know the answer to the question I'm about to ask, but bear with me. Let's go over to, basically, the paragraph begins on 115.
Okay.
And it's when Jan asked, starting about landscaping. And I think there, midway down in there, it's actually line 118. If a condition of approval or of the site plan, these could be revoked. Now, I'm assuming, David, what you were saying there is that the conditions are being revoked? I'm not quite sure.
No, there are site plan revocation procedures in state statutes. So the planning board does have the authority, the power to revoke site plans if it's determined, after a process and they determine it's not in compliance.
Yeah.
I think that's what
Yeah, that's what you said. I just wasn't quite sure what was being revoked, the condition or the whole site plan.
The site.
Okay.
So there's an extra word in there, or?
Might be. It doesn't sound like it's right when you read it.
Okay, that was the only thing I had there, and David's, so I'll move to approve them.
As presented?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Oh, yes.
Ayes? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next, we have August 25th. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Jen was not with us that evening, but we still have 4 people, so we can act on...
She can still vote.
I did watch the video.
Okay, you qualify. Good to have dedicated board members, I have to say. So, any comments, Pete?
Yes.
Start with you.
A couple. Can we go to line 95?
Yes, you certainly can. Indicated.
Indicated that Brendan Quigley of Gove Environmental was present, and Paul Roy of Procom, the project architect. I think I might make a suggestion that we take the words "was present" following environmental.
Yes.
And move those and turn the "was" into a "were," so that you would have Brian Quigley of Grove Environmental and Paul Roy were present. Because that's what
it means, yes.
Okay. 114, I believe.
Avoiding impact?
Yes, it says temporary impacts from the retaining walls will be restored. Now, I'm not quite sure what is being restored. Impacts can't be restored.
Wait a minute. What line was that again?
It's line
114.
Temporary
114.
impacts, it's a temporary retaining wall. It's really not a retaining wall, but.
Because the impacts.
They impact the wetlands when they're doing it, right? So they have the
Yes.
buffer zone impacts.
But
that they
temporary
remove.
impacts will be restored. If no one else has trouble with it, that's.
You could say like the area is temporarily impacted
Well, again,
by construction of the retaining wall. I think that's what it's meant to
Material
say.
held at stake, so if you
Yeah,
get knocked
I
down, it will be
understand.
restored.
okay.
There's permanent impacts and temporary impacts. Permanent impact is something when you fill in a wetland. temporary impacts, so you disturb the area, but then you restore it with like wetland conservation mix, and then you don't use it anymore, you just let it restore.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
restore it, so that's what he was saying, he
All
was
right,
saying
no
temporary
one,
impacts.
if no one else is troubled, 130, which is on page 4. Noted that the building will be similar to Unitil and Gourmet Gift Baskets. Isn't that buildings? Could we add the word buildings after baskets?
you could,
Yeah.
Okay.
no, buildings.
And here's another one, 136. The chair opened the hearing to the public for questions and comments and questions, but he never closed it to the public, or never took it back.
That I did.
Yeah, he did.
He did, but he did,
It's not in the notes.
it's not
In
in
the minutes.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I don't think there were any.
There were no
There were.
comments, so I
There were
waited,
none.
yeah, so,
Okay, that's all right.
Add
want to add that in?
Yeah,
At probably 7:34?
that. I don't think it was that long.
Oh, okay,
it was like.
30 seconds,
That's it.
right?
To look and there was nobody there.
yeah,
I don't think you need the time either.
no.
Okay, no.
Then close the meeting with questions?
Yes.
And, okay, then
Well, you closed the public comment.
close to, yes.
215.
Moving right along.
There was a rainy day, I read these.
Yeah, we had one or two of them.
All right, here we've got, Mr. Russell noted there was only a small amount of dye tumbled in. You tumble dye in?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said he puts it in a big thing and,
Tumble it?
yeah, that's what they said.
All right, that's fine.
Kind of like the dryer, you know?
Yeah, it was like that. Big
Okay,
bag.
that's fine.
There's no comma.
The last one is down 288. I think it's the last one, 288. Here's this motion that, and Dan called for a reconsideration to open the hearing to the public, which was done. But then the motion was remade. But the problem is that the motion on 288 was passed unanimously. And it's a non-motion.
It was withdrawn, though. It's just not noted.
So I think that should be, it's not going to do any harm to just withdraw that in its entirety.
Right, and it was withdrawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Then the same motion was made a couple lines further on.
Yes, yes.
But I think just for,
Yep, good, just delete it.
and, okay. Line 211, there was granted a request to continue approval for planning board case for 1 year. Normally, we say what that actual date is.
What line you on?
I'm on line,
He said two.
Oh,
but it's
311,
three.
okay, yeah.
it's 211, 12, and 13.
It's three.
It's 311,
311.
311, I'm sorry.
thank you.
We did mention the date. I remember mentioning the date. It's just not in the minutes.
Okay, which number is it?
It's 309.
No,
Yes,
no,
you
I'm
did.
sorry. Which case number?
311.
20-21.
20-21?
Yep.
It was to 8/24/23,
Yeah, I
according
think,
to my notes from that night.
The February
Yeah, that would.
August
that would make sense.
24th.
Yeah.
August 24, 2022.
9/24,
2023.
2022.
But wait a second.
Although we said it was from the
They
end
didn't
of the-
expire.
Right, it was supposed
Nancy,
to
they didn't
be,
expire yet, so, right? Because so we went a year
Right.
out from when they would have expired. 'Cause
Right.
They were in early.
yes, that's
Yes.
what we talked
We
about
didn't give them
that.
11 months, we gave them 12.
We gave him 12
Yeah.
from when it would expire.
Right, because the other one, there was another one that went to 9/24/23.
Yes.
That's the one where I think we're talking about.
No,
It's not?
that's 21-6. Hold on. 311, let me go back. 311, so it's 2021.
Yeah,
That's Carlisle.
yeah.
And it went from 8/25/22 to 8/24/23. That's what was said that night.
But then I think I remember with Aaron is that we talked about, it should be a year from when
It would,
it would expire. Because we said that, and then we had that discussion.
we did.
So it has to go to 2023 if it's going to be your extension.
Right, but it's a year from whenever it was
When it
supposed
would
to
have
expire.
expired, right, they were ahead of time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they came in early.
advance.
Yes,
Yeah, so it's like, I think it was roughly 13 months from
yes.
hearing,
yes,
but just an extra 12 months on the approval.
On the approval,
yep.
just because there was that confusion.
There was.
Right.
I think we need to
They were
show
ahead,
what,
most people aren't.
now, don't, just pray for no more rainy days, because then I won't read the minutes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I'll move to
That
approve.
match with you?
Well, I think the motion, starting with 311, on 311, and the motion on 332 are not as they were stated.
I don't either.
That's my best recollection, because I think on the 332, you moved to grant the extension for the reasons set forth in the request.
Right.
I
That's
believe you
correct.
said that.
That's exactly.
And I thought that one was September and not August.
That's what I thought too.
And then the above, I know we put in a date in the motion, and this just says for 1 year. So I think you need to go back and amend these motions to say exactly what was said at the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
You should table them.
I think you should table because I
Okay.
don't want to do that now. I think that they should go back, revise them to do exactly what was said.
Yes,
I don't
Right.
believe those
Yeah,
are the
'cause those are
motions.
kind of important
They
motions.
don't.
Yeah, that is a very important motion.
Yeah.
Right. So, may I ask
That's
a
my motion to
question?
table.
Okay, does that, what about all the amendments? You'd have to go through them all over again? Or can we table it and recognizing the amendments that were already mentioned?
I believe
We'll have to table them.
Daniel is probably is watching this or will be watching this, and he will correct the minutes based on all this conversation.
Perfect.
And then hopefully you'll get a fresh copy with all the
Okay.
changes made.
Then I'm going to second Pete's motion to table.
Thank you. Those in favor, please indicate saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. I'd like to introduce Robin Tyner, who is an alternate member and joined us, and you will be acting this evening. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. By request, I'm switching the agenda this evening.
Yeah, I've been down.
So we are going to hear Phillips Exeter Academy Planning Board Case Number 22-12, 20-24 Spring Street. It's a site plan review, reconstruction of Weatherell Dining Hall and dorm renovations. Dave, is that case ready to be heard?
It is complete for review purposes, in my opinion.
All right, looking for a motion to
Also move.
open the case. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. David, could you start us off on this one, please?
Yes, thank you. As you stated, the applicant submitted a site plan review application, plans supporting documents. They're all included in your packet. They're all dated July 12th, 2022. We had a TRC meeting on August 4th, and a copy of the TRC comment letter dated August 11th, and the UEI comment letter dated also August 11th, what are enclosed in your packet. The applicant revised the plans and supporting documents which were received on August 30th that are also enclosed on your packet. We have reviewed the submission. We received a second letter from UEI saying they have no further comments except they noted that they would like to see the PTAP submittal, but that's not necessarily an issue that needs to be resolved. It will be resolved when they complete the PTAP, which is a customary condition of approval. They have also addressed all the TRC comments. One of the biggest issues we had was on Spring Street with the curb cut. It came in at like 70 feet initially on Spring Street. There was a section there. So we worked with the applicant. There's some drainage issues as to why they needed that open, but we worked out that they're gonna do a mountable 1.5 inch curb. The curb opening is gonna be 30 feet, but then there's just gonna be a 1.5 inch raised curb instead of, the 6-inch reveal that we require, mountable curbs, so, because tractor trailers do have to back in there, and I don't know if you drive that road frequently, I know I do, one of the biggest, it won't be worse than it is now, because the delivery vehicles basically park in Spring Street and take up the left-hand turn lane there, and you gotta go around routinely. This will allow them at least to fully back in and handle the largest vehicle that will be doing deliveries. The applicant is requesting a waiver from the requirement to provide a high-intensity soil survey, and as the entire site is a previously disturbed area and there's limited site work outside the building footprint. And I did say, in the event the board choose to hold the site walk, I would ask the applicant to mark out the important features, but I did come prepared with suggested conditions of approval in the event the planning board wants to forego the site walk and take action on the request this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey, it's your turn. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Corey Belden with Altus Engineering, and I'm here with Heather Taylor from Phillips Exeter Academy. Dave gave a pretty good summary. This is the Wetherell, Langdale, and Merrill replacement and renovation project. This is on tax map lot 72-208. It's an approximate 11.4 acre lot. So the lot is bound by Front Street, Tan Lane, Main Street, and Spring Street. So that basically the entire block is a single lot. This portion of our site is located is located in the northeast portion of the lot. And it's 3 buildings, but they're all interconnected as one building. 2 dorms on each side, Merrill and Langdale dormitories, with Wetherell dining hall situated in between the 2. The Wetherell was, the buildings were built in the 1930s. There were some renovations done in the 1960s to the dining hall. I'm not going to get too much into it. Heather's here to talk a little bit more about the actual building and the programming. So I think I'll pass it over to Heather. She'll give talk about Phillips Exeter's, programming for the dining hall, why they're doing the project, and a little bit more about the building itself, and then I'll get back into the site and the site work and the site application and a lot of the design features for the project.
Thank you. Heather, you're up.
Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Mr. Chair and committee or board for being here or having us here. We're thrilled to be here. We're very excited about this project. It's another large project that we're doing on campus, but we are so fortunate to have so many of the Cram and Ferguson buildings, the buildings that Corey talked about that were built in sort of the early 1900s, and in this particular one in 1932, and as he said, expanded in the 1960s, the dining hall portion. The good thing about these buildings is they have good bones, and so if we do comprehensive renovations of systems and envelope, they really can serve us for decades to come. So these buildings have not really been substantially renovated in a long time, and are due. So as Corey mentioned, this project is a combination of the renovation of 2 dormitories, and Wetherell Dining Hall actually began its life as a part of dining for each of those dorms, and then in the 1960s it became sort of the central, sort of one of 2 of our main dining halls on campus, and so it was expanded. I think one of the challenges, as talked about, is the fact that it does go out far close to Spring Street, and so the renovation of this will much improve that situation. This is a plan of the site, sort of focusing in. This is Spring Street here and Water Street. So when you come down 85, you look in and see Merrill here. So this is one of the dormitories. This is the second dormitory, and this is what will be the footprint of the new dining hall within. but Corey will talk in detail, but it is pushed further back than the current condition from Spring Street to allow for a full loading zone that where you can pull off the street. So the areas highlighted are those of the site that are being altered. Again, it really focuses around the loading area and the Spring Street face, as well as on the quad side, we're adding a terrace. One of the things we're doing is making the first floor of each of the buildings are at this point not accessible because you have to go up 4 or 5 steps to get to the first floor level. We're raising the whole first floor of the new dining hall will be in alignment with that first floor. So there are ramped areas that come up, so it's ADA accessible to get into the first level of each of these, and then you'll be able to get into the dining hall will be all on that level. So that's kind of the major site work. It's not a lot of change. We will clearly disturb our quad in the process, but at the end, there's not a lot of change. Uh-oh. I don't know what I just did. Existing conditions. This is from the quad side, looking at the buildings today. Whoops. And this is also from Spring Street. I'm sorry, I have to hit the right button. So this is Merrill that you see. This is the 1960s edition of, that comes right up close to Spring Street, and the trucks kind of go in from that area. Some elevations of the new building. So these are sort of the flat version of what you would see from the quad. Again, you've got Merrill. This is the new dining hall in the middle, and Langdell on the other side. So this shows the terrace and the ramps on the way in. This is the Spring Street side. So the one element that is changing is that we are making an accessible entrance or an entrance for the faculty to be able to go into the lower level. All of the faculty apartments are going to be shared on this end of the building. That's weird. And then we also have 2 loading docks, one where everything will come in, and then the other where the smaller catering trucks will come to for things going out. This is a sort of a section cut across the first floor. So again, you can see the terrace on this end. This is the quad side with ramps that will come up and in. The dining hall is the main space with a servery beyond. One of the challenges we have with the existing building is that the dish room is in the lower level. So, and we don't really we have a dumbwaiter, not a real elevator. So it makes for a challenge. So we are. This building will allow us to make operational efficiency with all of this. This is a section cut through the building, so you'll see on the quad side what becomes a 2-story dining with a mezzanine overlooking, and then the servery and the kitchen and loading and some offices below out to the Spring Street side. The size of the dining hall in terms of the seats doesn't really change too much because right now we're broken up into 3 areas, and this all just kind of combines it into one area, which gives us a space on campus that we don't have right now. If you know our Elm Street dining hall, it has 2 spaces for main dining. So again, we don't have one large space to gather the community in. So that's one of the benefits of this project. And with that, Corey's going to take over for the details that matter on the site. Do you have any questions? Or?
Any questions at this point? No, we don't.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
That's not to say,
Don't leave. Pete's thinking right now.
All right. So as Heather was mentioning, one of the sort of key elements for the project is to push the building further back from the street. David mentioned also that right now a lot of the large delivery trucks, when they back in and back up to make their deliveries, they're actually extending out into the roadway. Let me see if I added that picture in here. No, okay. So the plan is to set the building back. It's about 11 and a half feet further back from the existing face of building. That provides over 18 and a half feet from the roadway to the new building, which will allow, this is a truck turning movement for the WB40 semi-trailer delivery truck that could then pull up onto Spring Street back into the site and park completely off of the road, get out of the sidewalk area, and then come back onto the road. As David mentioned, we've set the section of that curb is we've designed it as a mountable curb, which will allow for this movement to happen, but then also maintains that the actual 30-foot wide curb cut area for the loading. Let me see here, which will be this area right in through here will be the standard curb cut, and then this area through here will be the mountable curb area, just for those larger vehicles to be able to still back up and get over the curb. One of the, oops, wrong way. There's really three vehicle movements that are needed for this site. The next one is for trash removal. So dumpsters will be located at the end of down in this area here, and unfortunately, we're also dealing with a one-way street here, so the trash removal trucks are front loaders, so they'll need to pull in frontwards. So we're very fortunate again that this parking lot across the street is also owned by Phillips Exeter Academy, so we have this driveway. We anticipate the movement will be a back end coming into this lot. They could pull in, but anyway, they'll come in and then they'll be able to, make this cursor's not working very well. Make this, come in as a front for the front loader, empty the trash bins, back out, and exit the site.
Even though the diagram does not go to the trash bins, the driver will be able to go to the trash.
Yes, he'll be able to drive all the way there.
He drives in, backs out, and then continues in the right direction down. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And then the third movement is a simple, this first loading bay area is more of a catering bay. That would be just for smaller trucks, vans, linens, and things like that would access the site. There's enough space. There's 24 feet. They could pull in straight. They could pull in and just park on the. They could also pull into this area. So, but it's your kind of your standard vehicle that would be accessing those that first delivery bay.
So they're not likely to want to back in.
They could back in. Yeah, they may want to back in, pull forward and back in as well.
Some vehicles would be easier to load than that.
Right.
What we set up for
As Heather mentioned, one of the they're raising the finished floor of the first level to match the two dormitory first floors for ADA access on the sides. We're also worked with the architect to raise the basement level. Currently, the existing loading dock area is basically a low spot. It's a ponding area. So we're bringing up that finished floor elevation of the basement level to be above the curb line of the road, so that in the event of significant storm, which did happen, I believe, in 2008, the Mother's Day storm. I think that was the one that the drainage system in Main Street actually backed up and surcharged and came up, and water came out of the drains that are located in the building and flooded the basement of the floor. So that's one of the other design elements, is to raise that finished floor in event something like that happens now. There's positive drainage to drain back out to the street and won't flood the basement of the building. The two, let's see, the two, Heather touched on it a little bit, the two existing dormitories will be renovated. There'll be, there's currently 82 beds and 6 faculty apartments. The faculty apartments will remain. The faculty apartments are located on the Spring Street side, so we will be regrading these areas in front of them to have a basement level walkout. It's basically cutting down the ground about 2 to 3 feet so that the basement level has a walkout right now in those areas. And so that's on both this side and this side over here. I believe the new bed count is 86 beds compared to 82. And then the terrace in the Ford Quad. And with that, we're also providing stormwater management in the form of subsurface infiltration galleries in the Ford Quad area. These will provide treatment to 16,620 square feet of impervious area. So the new site, we're adding approximately 3,800 square feet of impervious area. We're collecting all of the new building rooftop area, as well as these two, the two dormitories are, pitched roofs. So everything that drains inside from both of those roofs, we'll be collecting that as well and running the drainage back out to the stormwater galleries out in the quad. The results are in the drainage report, but there's a 20% reduction in, the on-site, this analyzed site portion for all of the storms that were analyzed, 210, 25, and 50-year storm events. So this complies with the sections 9.3.2.4b for redevelopment projects, 60% of the site being impervious and treating over 60% of the site. So we're also going to be providing a hooded catch basin in the loading dock area just for oil water separation. And the last thing is to get into the utilities. So really, with an existing building, there's not a lot of utility work. The site is currently served with an 8-inch ductile iron water service from Main Street that was installed, and I don't recall the year, but it was fairly recently. When I say recently, I'd say within the last 10, 15 years or so, that new water line was installed. There's an existing service that comes off Spring Street that will be abandoned. It's currently been cut off and shut off in the building, but we will come back to the street and cut it off and make the fully abandoned it from Spring Street. In 2013, we did a pretty comprehensive sewer and storm drain separation project for this building. So all of the, so we installed new sewer connections and storm drain connections. We'll be connecting to those, reconnecting the sewer and storm drain to those existing manholes that were installed during, in 2013. We'll be installing a new grease trap for the dining hall just outside loading dock number 1, 2,000-gallon grease trap. So that's based on 720 meals per day, 2.5 gallons per meal served. So that would be 1,800 gallons, but we're doing a 2,000-gallon grease trap. There'll be new gas service that will be a new gas service connection. Again, there's existing gas running along Spring Street, so we're going to make a new connection as well. I think that summarizes the site work. There was a comment during the technical review just about the overall drainage for the site and some of the storm flows that are coming through there's a 30-inch trunk storm drain line that runs under the corner of Merrill Dormitory. This blue area is basically the watershed that drains to that area. This is a sort of a larger topic that I think we can discuss hopefully at another time. Working with Phillips Exeter Academy, we've installed a parallel 30-inch line through campus that we're sort of waiting to be able to activate that line. Just because there are downstream considerations, you can't just send a ton more water down into Main Street to a system that can't handle those flows. So, these are all topics that I think we can get into possibly at another time, but really don't feel that they are part of this project application. So I think that's the end of our presentation. If you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer.
Questions?
I just want to make sure I follow exactly what you're doing. The two areas where people live, you're remodeling, but the dining hall, to make it 11.5 feet back from Spring Street, are you tearing out the existing dining hall? And
Yes.
Completely gutting it?
Completely
You're gutting it, or
and
you're tearing it down?
ripping it out, new foundation, everything.
Okay.
The two dormitories on the side. The two dormitories, Merrill on that side and Langdale, will remain structurally, everything, but the entire
dining hall?
dining hall that's in the middle here will be ripped out, reconstructed, finished floor raised up about a foot,
Right.
and redone.
How about the connecting walls, the internal walls to the dorm and dining areas? Are those going to remain for the integrity of the building, or?
They will remain. There are a portion of the buildings are sort of integral right now. The dining hall actually goes into the first floor.
Can you speak in the mic, please?
Yeah.
It won't be
Sorry.
being recorded.
Yes, no, nobody can hear.
Missed it.
So the dining halls are integral, or the dining hall is integral into the first level of the two dorms. So that's another reason why we're lifting and making it all one level. So in terms of structure, one of the things that our structural engineer is doing is we're putting new structure that will be, we're not underpinning the whole thing because we're lifting it up, and we're putting the structure in, and you'll have, so the supports are inboard, and the only place we have to underpin is where we're putting in the elevators,
Yeah.
and that. So we're trying to minimize that interaction. We will end up closing a few of the windows on the first and second floor that exist right now between them, but that's all been taken into consideration.
And so then you're going to lose all of the grassy area that's in front of it right now. It's just going to be paved over? Is that?
We will lose some of the grass area that is correct in the, let me see. I'm going to go to the, yeah, this is, the site, it's hard to see here, but there's some grass areas right in here, a little bit here. It's not much grass. There's a lot of pavement in these areas. It's walkways.
I mean on the other side. I'm familiar with the building. My son went there. I've eaten there a bunch of times.
Oh.
I was just curious about the front
here?
side. Yeah.
On this side,
Yeah.
this side, it's really the terrace is just filling in that area between the two buildings.
Okay.
And I put these in here. Oops. So, so right here, yeah. So this is this area between the two buildings. This will be a
That's the new paved area.
terrace, a terrace, a paver block terrace. It's going to be elevated slightly. But that'll be filled.
Okay.
Yeah, with
but
planters.
The rest of the quads, they'll still be able to
The
run
rest of the
around
quads will
and-
still
okay.
remain the same. Yeah, correct.
All right? Anybody else?
Question. Corey, can you go to the
So this is.
large delivery truck turning template,
Please,
please?
Yes.
and thank you.
Gotcha.
There we go.
Okay.
So that looks like a massive improvement. What you'll be able to do after construction. And I'm more curious than anything else, if you had to template that now, it's all on the road mostly, isn't it?
Right now.
Because they're doing the same movements, aren't they?
Right now, the existing building with the wall face is about right here. So
Yeah.
they pull back and they can only come to, a certain area because they usually have like a little ramp that comes back off the truck too.
Right.
So they're backing up to, about here, and the whole front of the truck is as Dave said, is sticking out into
Right.
this area. So
Sure.
now they're fully off the road into this area. I also did not mention that all of this paved, or not, the concrete area in the loading dock is going to have a snow melt system. So just for snow removal, we're going to have
Nice.
that, have snow melt in that area as well. So that'll help with snow removal for.
Yeah, and the next one, which shows the garbage truck, that's probably similar to what they do now?
Similar to what they do now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Actually, we have smaller.
They have smaller bins right now. They
Oh,
don't have-
okay.
So we'll be increasing the bins. Hopefully it's a less regular
Sure.
service.
Yeah, I think the improvement on the impact on Spring Street is probably a major benefit to the general public.
Right.
That's why I just wanted to point that out. I think that's a pretty significant change for the general public as a benefit of the project.
Well, I would throw in also the ability now to unload closer to the delivery spot.
Yeah.
And for the folks inside to bring in the product.
Yeah.
So, yep.
What did you say was the amount of impervious pavement added or ground covered?
A little more than 3,000.
The amount of total, which
Like a net total? Because I know you're,
so
changing
let's
both
see.
sides.
The existing site has about 24,000 square feet of impervious area. We're adding 3,800, so we'd be at 27,000. We're treating 16,600, 17,000 of it. We can't capture some of the existing roof runoffs that are going down into down drain collection systems that are already connecting into collection systems along the sides, and we're not really touching this side of the building. We're not touching those, but we're really trying to capture, everything that we can, all of our new construction, and, and then we're also getting, basically half of the existing roof runoff that we're adding to that, so.
Are there any portions where it's possible, like the little piece out front, the outdoor dining area, to use pervious? I mean, I know you obviously can't where the building is.
Out
itself.
in this area?
Or on the front side, where I think it was like an outdoor dining area?
It's elevated.
Oh, it's elevated. Okay.
Right, so it's sort of, it's an elevated paver block system. It's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen it before. It's a little bit different, but so that's that's what this is right here. It's so there will be actually a gap, air, a space between the pavers, the terrace, and
the quad,
the ground below.
Okay.
Right. So we can collect that, and then we can get that, and it'll collect. We have a couple drains down underneath the terrace. We're collecting that, the water that goes through, and running that out to the rain garden, to the, not the rain garden, but the infiltration system in the back. So we'll be collecting all that as well.
Pete?
Couple questions. For the faculty housing, are you increasing the number of units there so that whatever parking issues, and she's shaking her head, so there are no parking issues.
It's the same,
Six existing, 6 to remain. So there's 6 stalls. There's 12 parking stalls that
I
PEA
just couldn't see the data.
owns. Again, across the street, they own this parking lot here. So there's 12 parking stalls there that will remain the same for faculty housing.
Perfect. And my other question, and I have to ask you to go back to your filing letter, which will take you a while probably to find it. It's basically the letter that you submitted.
The very, very first one. I don't think I have that one with me.
Well,
I think I only have the resubmittal one.
It's dated July 11. And there's a part of a sentence in there which puzzles me a little bit. And you're just saying that to raise the existing Weatherall dining hall, to construct a new dining hall to meet campus needs and renovate both Merrill and Logden Hall, to provide updated student and faculty housing that meets, and here's my question, meets current building codes. Now, what, in other words, right now, things are not in meeting building codes?
So, well, all of the existing dormitories that were constructed, 1930? So I wouldn't, and then all the electrical systems, everything, I mean, if you construct new, you have to construct to new building codes. And so everything will be constructed to meet current building codes.
But my problem was that, is that sentence saying that right now, the student and faculty housing do not meet current building codes? It's just a sentence, troubles me. If anybody else can find it, it's.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
midway down in the middle.
Well,
I understand your point, Peter, but I don't think he's implying that they don't meet it now. He's saying that the new project will meet current building codes.
Yes.
Or they could be grandfathered if it hasn't been renovated. But once you renovate it, you have to upgrade.
I think there's certain things that if something was built in 1930, closet sizes and building bedroom sizes that
We understand.
right. Okay.
But I think that he's getting you on grammar.
Yeah.
Well, that's what lawyers are supposed to do. No, I
He's trying to get you to say something you don't need to say.
everything has to have a predicate. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
all right.
I'm going to watch myself.
Jen, we haven't talked at all about landscaping, other than a quick sketch.
There's not much landscaping. Yeah, I think my only comment about the landscape plan is that I didn't notice a plant schedule or any particular species noted on the plans. It just says, deciduous tree, shrub. Typically, that's something that we'd like to see. We like to kind of be able to review what is going to be planted.
Is it
I don't think that's something that
L1.01 landscape plan
Yeah.
in the set plan set?
Sorry, now I lost it.
Somewhere you mentioned in the notes that some trees were moved so they would not be over utilities.
Right, yeah, we did receive some comments on the tree locations during technical review. Those have been, revised to, make sure that we are showing them
So these reflect those
away from utilities. Yeah, I think that and I'm not sure if we know exactly what tree, I think it's left fairly open as far as which type of tree that they are going to, the species of tree that will be planted in the.
I think
in the
I would
quad.
just personally want that to be a condition of approval, that a planting schedule is included on the final plans. That would be my recommendation. But other than that, I think I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into the architecture and maintaining the character of the existing buildings. And definitely, I will echo what Aaron said about opening up that sidewalk and improving the pedestrian experience on Spring Street, making it safer and just making it more friendly. So kudos to that.
Get stuck behind the door.
Nancy, you got a question? Excuse me?
I do, I really love the project. I won't get into what everyone else did. I do have a question about parking, but it's not your parking, it's construction. So with the Front Street project, it was great. It slowed people down, right? But my concern on this one is you're at the other end of that street, and would you at least consider where your construction people can park? Because you're gonna be taking up parking in front of our businesses downtown at that end. I'm just saying, they've gotta park somewhere, right? And there were quite a few cars on both sides of Front Street and Elliott.
Right, and there will be opportunity,
Up there.
when the renovation is going on, the buildings will be vacated, so we will have this.
Of course.
I don't know what happened to
He's
the whole red
coming,
light.
he's coming.
Here comes technical. Did I get
I think when you double click this, it filters through the different
Okay.
modes. I think now we're back at the.
Okay, sorry about that.
Now we got it. That's good.
So we will have the parking lot will then
The
become
12 there.
They'll then become construction access, and then we'll also have access along the building, and really our staging and storage and construction staging area will be back in the quad. So I don't know if they'll have any other.
The only, again, we'll work through this with the contractor, but the only, the other thing we've discussed is the fact we own the lot where the lovely temporary dorms were, the quarantine dorms, across the street. So that is parking that, is ours, and
I
we'd
didn't
probably
even
use
think of
it.
that part, so thank you for pointing
Yes,
out. I just don't want to, I want to try to avoid as much as possible filling
What
up too much downtown in front of the businesses, that's all. We have 2-hour parking,
Right.
right? So, the construction people are going to go out every 2 hours to move their vehicles, and, I'm just trying to
No, and I think we can
throw
make
it out
that-
there as something to consider, please.
So there's got to be
clear.
adequate,
Yeah.
space next to Harris Family Child Center.
I'm sorry.
Am I
couldn't
hearing
hear you.
that you will be able to accommodate all contractor parking off-street? Is that what I'm hearing? You said the quad, the parking lot across the street. So there's not going to be any
I don't know that I can
on-street
say
public?
that. I don't know that I can say that today.
Well, that's what I'm trying to go with it.
Yes, because that's what I thought you were saying when you brought up the
think that-
parking lot.
I can't commit to that, but that is a discussion, obviously, that we'll have with the CM and conditions of what they'll do. We have to work through the logistic planning, and obviously that discussion will happen. But in general, I mean, there was no place for the contractors to, there was limited space during the dorm for where them to park. So yes, I saw what
On Front
happened.
Street, you mean?
On Front.
Yeah,
Well,
and look, it slowed people down. I'm just saying that really opened my eyes up to what this project could do for parking downtown at that end of downtown.
right.
And it is all, and the reason why I bring that up is any on-street parking near the site is all timed parking. It's all 2 hours, so.
Right.
Yeah, so they'd be.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
And some workers happen to have vehicles with materials or tools that they have to park on the site. So, yeah.
Yeah,
It'll work
thank
out.
you.
There is parking available. Back to, well, that's not part of your count, is it, Dave? Because that's private. The Academy's parking over in that neck we're talking about by the Children's Center is Academy property. Therefore, it's not in your parking space count in the town, because that's not town
No,
parking.
all I was talking about was
Right.
public on-street parking all around that area is timed.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and they answered the 12, that's 12 spots.
Yep.
On that street. I don't think
Right,
that's
and
gonna
then the
do
other,
it.
across the street, right, another available lot.
Right, and honestly, I haven't been back there for quite a while, but with the festival coming up, I'm gonna take a peek.
Aaron?
I said one more thing, Corey. On your letter from August 30, which is in response to TRC town planner comments, quite a bit of the application. On item 14, and you covered part of this in your presentation in a couple different parts of your presentation. Number 14 talks about the improvements on drainage that the Academy's been working on in conjunction with the town of Exeter. And I was just hoping to ask you to elaborate on that just a little bit more for the public information more than anything, because that's obviously, when you say, in general, we'll address it at a different time, it kind of sounds like kicking the can down the road, and that's not what you're doing. The can isn't ready to be kicked, if you know what I mean, right? So just elaborate a little bit on what you're trying to accomplish there.
Well, so I forget what year, but I think it was in 2013, plus or minus. Or, there was, they were doing a Phillips, right over here, this is Wheelwright Hall. We installed a 30-inch trunk main parallel line that comes up the building, up the side of Wheelwright, crosses over, and then comes up to Tan Lane. Everybody, I think, knows what happens in Tan Lane during pretty, any significant storm event. There's, significant flooding there. Certainly, when I go back to this is, from the town's, all the purple lines are storm drains. This is, come on, get down there. This is Tan Lane right here.
Yeah.
This is our site right here. This is what's draining to Tan Lane. So again, we've installed another 30-inch storm drain line that that comes up to here, but it's not connected yet, and really we can't make that connection because the existing drain line that goes down and outlets to Squamscott, it doesn't have the capacity to handle that additional flow. So there's some coordination that needs to happen between the town, PEA, looking at this drainage system holistically, before that happens. And I really think that that's a separate project than this project. And that's what I was trying to elaborate on in that comment. Does that answer your question?
It is, yeah. No, I'm just trying to get you to elaborate a little more on that, because it's a pretty important
Planning ahead.
part of the project and just the overall scope of what's going on within the town. Thanks.
Right.
Now, this is time to do that in that area. Very logical.
Yeah, has that conversation been started with the Department of Public Works yet? To anybody's knowledge, or no?
I'm not sure, but I think that the town is coming out with an RFP or something to do a study of this drainage system. I'm not positive.
That's more with DPW.
Or about
Right, I just
DPW.
want, I mean, we're hearing about it. I'm curious if anyone's approached Department of Public Works or
Well,
started this
We had
conversation.
that conversation with Paul like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Right, yeah, we've talked to.
So that's the
we've
conversation.
talked to them about it. I think everybody's
The 30-inch
aware.
line was
Okay.
mentioned and so
Yeah.
forth.
So it's out there.
It's on the radar.
In the, I was gonna say pipeline, but that was a bad pun. It was, yeah, okay. It's on the radar screen, thank you. Great.
Okay, I need to open this to the public, so would anybody in the public this evening like to speak to this particular project? If so, please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself so that our viewers at home, plus us, will know who is speaking, and we appreciate the input that you have to provide. Seeing none, then I'll close the public session and bring it back to the board.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I just noticed when I was thinking about the parking and the parking in front of the quad, where are they gonna access it? And I thought from the stabilized construction access, but it says, I didn't notice this before, it says stabilized construction exit. So where's the entrance?
No, it's a.
Microphone, please, thank you.
Okay,
it's the-
usually I see it access, construction access.
Yeah,
It says
no,
exit, meaning I'm gonna leave here.
You have just the stone is for the vehicles leaving the site.
Okay,
So they still will enter
You
the
put in
same.
exit, okay, that's
They
the first
still
time I've seen
enter the
that.
same.
Okay.
They don't
You're
need the
entering,
stone
and that's
when they're
over a
going
curb,
in.
right?
No, there's a cut there. There's the paved. There's a
Okay, so
spline
that little,
walkway
because it
that.
looks like there's a little section that looks.
Yeah, there's a
it
curb
denotes
cut.
a curb.
There's a curb cut right in that area.
Okay,
There's an existing curb cut.
got it, thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's see.
Want to have discussed it?
Yeah. There's a waiver request here. And it's not about 10-inch trees. The high-intensity soil survey.
So I think with waivers, we're foregoing requiring all the applicants to go through every one of the criteria every time we leave.
Yes?
That seems to be our new practice. But it might make sense to still have them at least generically address the
Yeah.
waiver request and make it.
You know what we're talking about?
I do.
Oh, good.
I want to do this. So I
a star on
actually,
your
on
chart.
the waiver request application,
Okay.
put in, so I can go through it briefly. Waivers in request to section 7.4.10 for the requirement for a high-intensity soil survey. The waiver is requested from the requirement to provide a high-intensity soil survey because the entire site is previously disturbed. There's limited site work outside of the building footprint. The NRCS, National Resource Conservation Service, web soil survey was used to identify the underlying soils for the project site, as well as geotechnical borings for the soil descriptions and groundwater elevations. The NRCS soil survey indicates Hoosic soils, a very well-drained soil, hydrologic soil group A in the project area. SW Cole, geotechnical engineer, completed borings and infiltration testing for the project, which are used in the stormwater design. This information provides the needed information to adequately design the stormwater system and is not contrary to the spirit of the regulations. Therefore, 1, granting of the waiver will not be detrimental to the public because the site is unique and is already completely disturbed. It would be a hardship to the owner if the strict letter of the regulation were carried out, as the existing soils do not represent a soil series and the relevant information was obtained with infiltration testing and borings. It is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance, and it will not vary the provisions of the zoning ordinance or master plan.
I think that covers the requirement.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Does anyone want to discuss it?
Any questions or discussion about that waiver request?
there's no discussion, I'm willing to make a motion.
Certainly, I'm ready for
Chair?
a motion, yeah.
After reviewing the criteria for granting waivers, I move that the request of Phillips Exeter Academy Planning Board case number 22-12 for a waiver from section 7.4.10 of the site plan review and subdivision regulations to provide high-intensity soil survey information be approved.
Second? Oh, we'll let Robin second.
Moved and
How's
second.
that?
Any question on the motion? Let's do a hand vote, please. So those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, any objections or abstentions? No? Unanimous vote of members this evening. Site plan motion would be next, I believe, unless there's any other questions.
So the only thing I heard really beyond our normal criteria was Ms. Martell had suggested something regarding the landscaping as a condition. Do you have any wording for that, Jen? Do you want Dave to take a shot?
Oh, Dave did.
Sounds like Dave already took a shot.
All right, what do you got?
Do you want me, can I read them all?
Yes, sir.
Sure,
While we're here?
take it from the top.
Okay. From the top, 8 of the standard conditions, plus the 9th one, but I'll read them. 1, an electronic as-built with details acceptable to the town shall be provided prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, CO. This plan must be in a DWG or DFX file format and in NAD 1983 State Plan, New Hampshire FIPS 2800 feet coordinates. 2, a pre-construction meeting shall be arranged by the applicant and his contractor with the town engineer prior to any site work commencing. The following shall be submitted for review and approval prior to the pre-construction meeting. 1, the SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, if applicable, be submitted to and reviewed for approval by DPW and a project schedule and construction cost estimate. 3, third-party construction inspection fees shall be paid prior to scheduling the pre-construction meeting. 4, the stormwater system operation and maintenance report in the Stormwater Management Inspection and Maintenance Manual dated August 2022 shall be completed and submitted to the town engineer annually on or before January 31st. This requirement shall be an ongoing condition of approval. 5, all applicable state permit approving numbers shall be noted on the final plan. 6, all landscaping shown on the plans shall be maintained and any dead or dying vegetation shall be replaced no later than the following growing season, as long as the site plan remains valid. This condition is not intended to circumvent the revocation procedures set forth in state statutes. 7, the applicant shall submit the land use and stormwater management information about the project using the PTAP online municipal tracking tool. The PTAP submittal must be accepted by DPW prior to the pre-construction meeting. 8, a restoration and erosion control surety in amount and form reviewed and approved by the town planner in accordance with section 12 of the site plan review and subdivision regulations shall be provided prior to any site work. And 9, a planting schedule specifying the types of trees and shrubs to be planted shall be provided as part of the final plans.
That good, Jen?
That's it?
I think that sounds fine.
Can I make a motion? I move that the request of Phillips Exeter Academy Planning Board Case 22-12 for site plan approval be approved with the 9 conditions as stated by our town planner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's do a voice vote on this one and start with Jen.
Aye.
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 Unanimous vote, no objections and no abstentions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Corey. Appreciate the detail.
Got me on that waiver last time I was here. I had to wing it.
Thank you for doing that. It's a very distinct building.
Yeah.
I wanted a sidewalk just because I wanted to be nosy and see everything before it's gone. But I didn't think that was a good enough reason.
Should be done.
I'm an in, I'm around. Fine.
Okay.
Slate roof.
Next. Curlips Incorporated, Planning Board, case number 22-9, 19 Continental Drive, SPR and Wetlands Cup, 95,000 plus minus square feet industrial warehouse building, continued public hearing. We had paused or tabled this to give us the opportunity to look at the site, and we appreciate any preparations that were made.
Well, for the record, my name is
And
Eric
Eric,
Starr
you're
from
back.
Altus Engineering. Thank you for having me back. I hope nobody got lost out there, because it's pretty thick if anybody did make the trip. So a few minor plan changes on this. Let's see here.
Excuse me, Dave, did you have anything to add before he starts? I don't want to cut you off, but
real brief, we're going to schedule a site walk, couldn't said go out on your own, so that's basically why it was tabled. Also, there was a couple other reasons. One was regarding the gravel parking area in the back, and then there was a gravel access road. They did, the gravel parking area has been returned to pavement and granite curbing. The eastern perimeter access road does remain gravel as before, so they paved all the parking, but there is a section of gravel on that eastern perimeter road. That's all I have.
Well,
thank you.
Stole my thunder.
He has a tendency to do that.
Right. That parking area is right in here. We also extended the sidewalk all the way out to go with it. So this is now paved. There was also the addition of one note on the utility sheet about water main testing on the existing main extension from Continental. Basically, they have to coordinate with DPW. That satisfied Underwood's last comment, so the town engineer has signed off on the project as designed. Jen, you missed the landscaping chat last time, so I was going to have Vicky here, but sorry. Do you
We can still chat.
Okay, do you want to talk about
We can still talk about it.
So at this time, any questions? So where we're at here?
Questions?
So the only real change is that the parking lot's paved.
That's it, yeah, and of course that rippled through every single sheet on the plan set.
Simple. Jen, did you have any?
I do have a few questions, and I'm sorry I couldn't be here when this was originally presented. But I did watch the video, and I went out to the site this morning. I just walked the old Garrison.
The road through it.
The road through it. Yeah, I didn't venture into like the tricky spots. It's beautiful out there. So one of my questions was about that easement
The existing
that goes
easement?
through the Garrison Lane easement, or the discontinued road.
Oh, the road. The road is totally discontinued. So that was done several years ago, I believe, in conjunction with the rest of the industrial park.
So there's no
there's no easement at all.
right of way, anything like
not
that.
anymore.
Okay. I guess that was my other question about that is it does look like it's a pretty well-used trail. Is there any possibility that the applicant could actually, have the trail go around the building or something so people could continue to use it?
I don't know. Barry, what do you feel?
It's a very well-used trail, but if you go about halfway up, there's one that dives off to the left.
I saw that.
That one's beautiful.
And that allows you to get all the way around?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
and like
beautiful.
into
It goes, and then you go along the river and over a bridge. And
Okay.
it's really
I think people are going to make their own if they want to, and that's, I think, just with the way the site is designed, it's going to push people around anyway.
Yeah.
If they want to walk through the parking lot, I don't think anybody's going to stop them.
I mean, that road goes right through the middle of where the building is.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
if they go there, they're gonna end up on the road anyway. So
Yeah, I was.
the perimeter road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my concern was if like people would come up off of the existing Garrison Lane and, come up that trail and then it would dead end. But like you said, I noticed this morning that it does kind of veer off.
Right.
Yeah.
Come from that
That other
direction.
one-
So.
So I live one street up from there, so we're on there all the time.
Oh, okay.
We almost always do the left turn. We're like cheating the dog if we go straight up Garrison. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's some, old historic stone walls along the edges there.
Yep.
Is there any
you
planned
can,
reuse of those?
There is no planned reuse of that. I'm assuming it would become construction material like anything else. They're just rocks that used to be part of a field. So there's no place to put them really. Obviously, we're not going to rebuild the stone wall because it goes right through the building. We'll have a pile of stones. You guys can do something with them if you want, but
I live in a 1720 farm in Durham. It's all stone walls. They're lovely, but in an industrial park,
Yeah.
it's kind of a moot point.
yeah, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do a,
Yeah.
You could
like,
I-
feature wall. with-
Yeah.
the entrance way or something, you know?
Yeah.
And the historic significance is great. I mean, we wanted as low an impact as possible. That's why we didn't want to pave so many
Speaking of the
parking
mic,
spaces.
sorry. Just make sure, you speak in the mic because we're recording it on TV.
I
We won't hear you.
apologize. I'm
No problem.
kind of foreign to this.
This is Barry Ryan from Glarips, by the way, and as you can see, he's
You can give him the
he's
mic.
sporting Glarips.
I noticed his footwear.
Yes. Oh, he's got
You
it.
too. We only got one.
Our tagline is warning addiction can occur, and we hope you all become addicted. The Glarips family, Nanny Glarup, started this company when she was 66. And her son and his partner now run it, and they're very excited to be a part of Exeter. And so, thank you.
So if there's any way to maybe find somebody that might want to repurpose those stone walls, that's totally a thought out there. We can't make you, I'm just saying.
In commercial.
Yeah,
I'm not in commercial real estate. I'm a shoe guy.
I get it.
And,
But where about stone walls in New England?
You know,
So-
I'm partial to stone walls given my 350-year-old home, but in this particular situation, I would have to lean to pro-con, you know, on what they're going to do with the stones.
Yeah.
So,
It becomes their properties they work on anyway, I think.
thank you.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just worth mentioning because it is a, you know, it's a heritage feature of the site that we're losing.
I think in hindsight, perhaps the subdivision should have been designed where the boundary was right on those stone walls, but that's 20
That would
years
have been
ago.
nice. Hindsight is 2020. Yeah, and I guess my only other comment about the landscaping
I knew you were going to
is
say that.
I wanted to
Where am I going?
echo, I think, what Robin mentioned at the meeting, that the use of, you know, turf grass in the planting areas that are adjacent to the building, I think is contrary to, you know, what you said in the beginning, which is about, you know, we want to minimize impact on the site and emphasize the natural beauty and all of that. And turf grass is just like really out of place here.
It is in some of this, but you got to remember, some of this is drainage, so we need that turf grass to stabilize it. This whole section, right along this face, there's a drainage swale running from right to left, so I need the turf, otherwise I got to rip-wrap it, which is not going to work. Mulch is just going to wash away. This whole chunk in here is the big snow storage area. So that's going to take all the snow from in here so we don't dump it over the side. So I do need the grass in there as well to stabilize it. And then in changing the perimeter road to gravel, these sections here are actually sunk down with drainage features in them. So that's where the water's going to go. So I can't put any mulch or any kind of other stuff in there. So I do need the grass, unfortunately.
so
Yeah.
you're using the grass to help direct the
Yeah,
flow
it's
of
just
stormwater
to keep it stabilized. Yeah, so it doesn't wash away.
and snow water, whatever,
Yeah.
yeah. Huh, that's interesting. I don't know, we've heard that one before. How about you, Jim? Heard that used that way?
Yeah, that's kind of the New Hampshire
Thing?
way.
Well, it's better than-
I think it's
better than
silly. I
black
think that
plastic.
rain gardens should be, or stormwater detention basins, bioretention areas should be they should be planted with plant material that actually has deep root systems
I hear what
that's
you're
actually
saying,
going to
yeah.
absorb the water.
Yeah,
Turf
New Hampshire's
grass.
moved away from that in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
You used to be that way. There's something with vermiculite affects phosphorus export or something like that.
It's something crazy out of UNH.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
Get it.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
It's
So, but-
contrary to the way the rest of the
Yeah.
world does it. But
Those areas I just talked about, though, those are not the actual stormwater treatment facilities. Let me go back to the drainage plan just so you can see where I'm talking about.
they're like conveyance.
Those are just conveyances. Those dark blobs, which don't really look black on paper, but those are the stormwater ponds. Those get the special seed mixes. So ideally, in the long term, they will grow up and have a more diverse stand of species in there. I think I've got a conservation and a wetland mix in there now as a head start. Obviously,
Yeah.
things will get in there from the outside as time goes on. Those will not be maintained as lawn. So it will be grasses, but it's not going to be mowed.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it's the low maintenance, easy option. I'd rather see something different. I think it's contradictory, but I'm not, I understand why it's there. I think it's, it'll be the easiest thing to keep neat and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then I guess my only other thing is just the tree selection. I love elm trees. They're great for street trees and whatnot, but in this situation, I mean, I was out there today and I saw oak trees, I saw chestnut trees, I saw beech trees, I didn't see any elm trees out there. Like, it'd be nice to plant some trees that were maybe a little bit more diversity of species, and then also just that replicate some of what is being cut down.
I knew I should have had Vicki come in. I am not the person to answer that. You're obviously the landscape expert, and obviously runs in the Martell family.
We're not related. I know, it's funny.
Weird though. I just know that she chose those for the shade on parking areas because they're going to be tall and columnar and have a nice canopy. She did mention they're disease resistant, and that's about all I get out of her. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's...
Do you want me to have her switch some up? I mean, I don't have a preference.
How about the speed of growth in terms of, those are hardwood trees. And I don't think I don't know elm that well, whether they are supposedly a fast-growing tree, any faster than oak and maple?
Medium.
Because you get wonderful shade from oak and maple.
You get wonderful shade from oak. Okay. Most shade trees give you pretty good shade, yeah.
But they have to grow.
So that's not, I mean, chestnut trees would be great out here, because I mean, they're out there, they grow pretty fast, they do create a beautiful shade, they give you, I mean, there's all kinds of benefits to them.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't put them on a site like this? Do they have fruiting, like nuts or anything that are going to cause problems? Chestnuts. Exactly.
But, maybe you keep the elms in the trees that are like over parking spaces, so you don't have, the nuts falling on the cars. But like there's others, like all the ones along the driveway and stuff, those could be chestnuts.
Chestnuts would be
these
pretty.
guys, and then these four up here, I guess, right?
Probably not beech, because then they have suckers.
Yeah,
beech has suckers.
Yeah,
Okay.
beech won't do well with any, like... I mean, I'm assuming this whole area will be salted too, so we need to be a little bit cognizant of that, which could be, there's a lot of considerations that go into selecting trees. I guess my concern is, let's try to use some of the trees that are in the forest already. I would love to see some evergreen trees get put in too, because there's probably a 50-50 mix of evergreen and deciduous out there today. And just maybe not all the same species, because 15 of the same tree, like, sure, they're resistant to the Dutch elm disease, but there's other diseases out there that, could hit them, and then you've lost 15 trees. So it's nice to have a variety.
How about this? As a condition, I can have Vicki take a look at this and have her change some up.
That'd be great. And I
add some
trust
variety.
her completely to do that well.
I think probably in her thought process, if she's seeing an industrial site where the public's not really going, it does not really need to be dressed up that much. So that's probably, trees, and that's it. But I can definitely pass that on to her, and she can turn that around in no time.
Welcome to Exeter and our trees. It's called, Tree City?
Tree City, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Tree City, USA. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Dave, you look questioning.
No, I didn't have a question. I just want to address the comment about the lawns, because we look at that too, and a lot of the lawns in New Hampshire, like residential lawns, where you look at the pristine lawn, they're majority of Kentucky bluegrass. They have a rye fescue, like 20%, usually like 80% Kentucky bluegrass, which is not native to New Hampshire, is very drought intolerant. It takes a lot of water, a lot of fert. I mean, you have to put a lot of effort into it. I mean, what I'm seeing in commercial, I don't know if I've ever seen a Kentucky bluegrass mix. I mean, for example, this one's 50-50 fescue and creeping red fescue. So it's a fescue lawn. It's not your, water intensive, it's a native, it's a native fescue grass to New Hampshire. So that's what, when they came out with that with the stormwater UNH, it was connected to like native fescues. It wasn't Kentucky bluegrass, which you see, a lot of people maintain Kentucky blue, which, beautiful, but.
Yeah.
they come with their own set of issues,
Right.
maintenance.
Dave, where did you, I was looking for that and I couldn't find
That's
it.
usually hidden in the details.
It's hidden, yeah. Sheet number C.
Is sheet number C7.
Yep.
In the civil detail.
And the third, like, kind of row, there's 4 rows across, it's the third row about halfway down. It says seed mixture for lawns, type, tall fescue, 24 pounds an acre, and creeping red fescue, 24 pounds an acre.
Okay. And will that be irrigated?
Well, I think if we need to, if you plant this at the beginning of a real dry summer that we got this year, they're going to have to. But seeing that these are stormwater areas, they're going to get water with great frequency. So I hopefully we won't have to. There's no plans for an installed irrigation system.
Okay.
Yeah, shouldn't need it.
Yeah, shouldn't need it.
No.
Hopefully.
It'll brown out, and if it does, and it comes
it'll come
back, it just goes dormant,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Fescue's gonna survive. Usually.
Okay. Oh, public meeting. Let me open the meeting to the public for a minute, please, because there may be somebody in the audience who would love to discuss this particular case. So if so, please step to the podium and introduce yourself so you folks at home will know who is speaking and that we also will know who's speaking. So anybody wish to speak, step up to the podium, please. Seeing none, let me close the public session at this time. Thank you very much.
I think my favorite part about that line was you looked around the room. There was someone else.
Someone's hiding behind a chair.
Sometime I'll have to have the camera over there. I've been practicing it for a few years,
Very sincere.
Oh, dear. Now,
There's no waivers.
no waivers. We have a conditional use permit. But Dave, that's listed after the site plan motion. Is that?
Take them however you would like them. Usually it's the other way around. Usually we do the CUP first, so sorry about that.
That's what I thought.
There are no conditions. The Conservation Commission did recommend it with a couple of conditions, but they were more consider reducing the pavement, reducing the impervious area. So they weren't really subsequent conditions of approval, and they've already been discussed and addressed, so.
Yes, yeah. I think that's important.
There's no recommended
that they have been
conditions of
addressed.
approval for the conditional use permit.
Okay. Aaron, would you like to take
Well,
care of it?
I want to discuss it for 1 second.
Please do.
Then I'm ready to make a motion, unless you want me to make the motion first.
No.
I was just going to say, I don't want to propose a condition on this in regards to the conditional use permit. But I just want to say briefly that I thought Gwen brought up a good issue at the last hearing, part of the hearing, regarding, there's impacts. We're in the buffer zone, we're impacting a little bit. Mr. Quigley brought up, the global scope of the lot that this was part of and how much has been preserved, which I think is also very relevant in this case. But, it is something we have to bear in mind when we issue these CUPs. This is, I think, a very responsible project. I think it's well thought out, well designed, and I welcome this company to our community, so it's exciting to see this happening, because this site has sat around for a while. In my short time on this board, we've had applicants come and go on this site. So it's nice to see someone I think is going to stick.
We hope.
So when we look at, the CUP, part of development is you have to try to manage what you have. And the way wetlands get configured and determined, it's hard to find big, huge swaths of land that don't have any in this day and age, unless you're literally knocking stuff down. I mean, we just looked at a project from Phillips Exeter that if we get into the water tables and everything there, it's crazy, I'm sure, what most of that entire campus is built on.
Yes.
So I think given the conditions facing these folks, I think it's a pretty responsible use. So I just wanted to mention that before I make a motion. If anybody wants to address that, they can do it now, or I'll make a motion. We can have another chance to talk. All right. So After reviewing the criteria for a wetlands conditional use permit, I move that the request of Glare-Ups Inc., Planning Board Case Number 22-9 for a conditional use permit be approved.
Second?
Any discussion on that motion?
The only thing I was going to say to what you said, not regarding the vote, is that I just think that's worthy of a discussion outside of this vote, the cumulative impact.
Yeah, oh, yes,
Of
yeah,
a little
you're right,
wetlands
it's
here, a
another-
little piece of wetlands there, a
like
little
parking.
piece there.
Yep.
And what's the cumulative, how are we measuring it? How are we measuring how many little pieces we have, and how they add up? But
Yep.
as a separate.
Good point,
from
yep.
This is one of the more.
Pete
responsible
understands that.
projects We've seen.
Exactly.
There are other cumulative matters too.
Anything else? Well, then I'll ask for a hand vote, please, and,
You got a second on that?
I second.
yes,
Oh, I'm
Nancy
sorry.
did.
He did.
And with that second, will you please vote?
Aye.
Did I say hand vote?
You did, okay.
Waiver, so we'll
Okay.
just do both.
Yeah,
Raise
boy.
your hand and say aye.
Aye. And I take
Right
care of
hand for aye.
both.
That's right.
Cover all the bases. You never know what
Opposition?
you gotta do.
He's trying to trick us,
yeah,
keep
yeah.
changing
The other one.
the process there.
Anyway, the other thing, unanimous vote?
6-0.
Thank you very much. And anybody like to make a site plan motion?
I will do that.
Okay. Pete?
I move that the request of Glare-Ups Inc., Planning Board Case 22-9 for site plan approval be approved
With
with any conditions.
or conditions?
Yeah, I'm gonna need help, though. I didn't quite understand what that agreed condition was. I didn't
I
know
think
how to.
the applicant will diversify the tree planting schedule.
Perfect.
How's that?
Boy, you're getting good.
Perfect, simple. Yeah. Does that work?
Yeah, I think if we could just add,
You get-
diversify the tree planting schedule to more closely match the existing
condition.
tree species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of trust going on here, Jenna.
I just want to,
No, being specific is good.
I mean, they're not going to watch the video, so
exactly.
it's good to have it written down. You can say, this is what you need to do.
Could you say that
never
last
know.
part again? Will match? Will what?
To more closely match the existing tree
Existing lands.
mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardwoods, softwoods.
Existing forest. I don't know. There's an actual term for it
Yeah.
that's not coming to me right now.
Right, I know. It's like the
Mix.
native
there?
grass seed kind of.
Yeah.
So the tree planting schedule will be revised so the proposed trees will more closely match the existing trees.
Will be
On the
diversified.
site?
I like the word
Diverse, yeah,
diversified.
yeah.
Diverse.
You want to get an extra tree too or something? Like 1, 2 extra?
I don't, I would love more trees, but there's no room.
No, there isn't.
There's really no space. I looked at that. I was like, oh, where would I put more trees in here?
How about a grass
Do you
roof?
like suggesting
Seems like a
conditions?
missed opportunity.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes, please.
the standards and then one more. 1, electronic as-built with details acceptable to the town shall be provided prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, CO. This plan must be in DWG of DFX file format and in NAD 1983 State Plan, New Hampshire, FIPS 28 in front of 2,800 feet coordinates. 2, a pre-construction meeting shall be arranged by the applicant and his contractor with the town engineer prior to any site work commencing. The following must be submitted for review and approval prior to the pre-construction meeting. 1, the SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, if applicable, be submitted to and reviewed for approval by the DPW. And 2, a project schedule and construction cost estimate. 3, third-party construction inspection fees shall be paid prior to scheduling the pre-construction meeting. 4, all comments in the Underwood Engineering, Inc. review letter dated August 17, 2022, and the TRC comment letter dated June 29, 2022, and any subsequent comments as a result of the further review shall be addressed to the satisfaction of the town planner prior to signing the final plans. 5, the stormwater operations and maintenance manual shall be revised to the satisfaction of the town planner by adding language regarding the annual reporting requirements set forth in section 9.5.2.6 in the Exeter Site Plan Review and Subdivision Regulations dated February 2022 and as further amended. 6, the stormwater system operations operations and maintenance report in the stormwater operations and maintenance manual shall be completed and submitted to the town engineer annually on or before January 31st. This requirement shall be an ongoing condition of approval. 7, all applicable state permit approval numbers shall be noted on the final plans. 8, all landscaping shown on the plan shall be maintained and any dead or dying vegetation shall be replaced no later than the following growing season as long as the site plan remains valid. This condition is not intended to circumvent the revocation procedures set forth in state statutes. 9, if determined applicable, I'll scratch determined applicable. Sorry. The applicant shall submit the land use and stormwater management information about the project using the PTAP online municipal tracking tool. The PTAP submittal must be accepted by DPW prior to the pre-construction meeting. 10, a restoration and erosion control surety in an amount and form reviewed and approved by the town planner in accordance with section 12 of the site plan review and subdivision regulations shall be provided prior to any site work. And 11, the tree planting schedule will be diversified so the proposed trees will more closely match the existing trees on the site.
And I'll second.
Is that part of your motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Second.
Or why not?
Okay. Any questions? All right. Let's do a individual voice vote on this one, and we'll start with Jen.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I feel like pokey
I want to see the size of the slippers that are going to be hanging in front of the building.
So are these outdoor slippers? Like you can wear them?
Both. We do a calf skin sole, which was the original.
Sure.
It's a chrome-free leather. We're a very green company. As a matter of fact, we're on the original farm where Nanny and Uva Glerup raised 200 sheep, and that's where she started this brand. So our European headquarters is on a farm, and you would never know it was an industrial facility. It's basically just a warehouse and office, which is really what we tried to mimic here. I couldn't do it on our farm in Durham because you couldn't get anything approved in Durham, but this park is perfect. It abuts 500 acres of preserve. We feel, the significance of all the nature, where we're going, and we've talked with Procon about trying to save as many trees as we possibly can. Again, I'm not a commercial developer, I'm a shoe guy, but that park is perfect for us from an environmental standpoint, and we're happy to be there. It's a great site for us.
Interesting.
If I'm allowed to, I have a small gift, which kind of explains wool and its value as a thermoregulating material. I've been in shoes 42 years. When Nike was here, I was starting a career with Adidas, and these shoes are probably the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn in my whole life. And the rubber soles, you can wear them all day long, but we make these for areas like Florida and Arizona to tell you that wool keeps you cool. So if I can, I'd like to give you each a gift from the Glerups family. Is that acceptable?
I don't think
It's
we already voted. Really, if I got my second shoe.
leaving that one in. I'm not sure I want to hear anymore.
Boy, he can leave them by the back door.
So this is a promotional thing that we give our customers as a thank you. And
I thought I was going to have to tell you what shoe size it was.
well, we go from a newborn to a men's 22.
Oh, wow.
So we can fit literally almost anybody with
Thank you.
with feet.
I thought he was going to start a small sheep farm out there. I mean, come on.
At one point in time, we had hoped to have sheep. Take it.
No,
It's good for you.
What are these?
Give it to.
Are these expensive?
I can't. I still have.
Okay.
I still have work to do on this project.
So wool basically temperature regulates, it's antimicrobial, it never smells, and it comes from grass. So we are about the greenest shoe brand in the whole shoe market, and we're very thrilled to be a part of Exeter. So.
Do you have more of your brochures?
Not today, but our website is pretty robust.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it's a great website.
you know, we're exploding. Like, we're in LLB, and we're in Orvis, we're in REI, we're in KTP and Red Shoe Barn, and
Good.
we don't have a retailer in Exeter. That's a problem, but we'll
What about
Yeah.
travel
fix
and
that.
nature?
Yeah.
They should
We'll fix that.
Congratulations.
Well,
Anyway,
you do have a
welcome to
retailer who
town.
used to pretty close with Nike. Said we do
Thank
have
you so much.
a shoe,
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
a shoe retailer who was close with Nike.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Any master plan discussion?
You can have.
Dave?
Well,
Meeting next week.
Meeting next, on the 16th, next Friday.
yeah, a week from tomorrow.
And where we will be meeting with the Regional Planning Commission for the kickoff of the Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan.
Sorry, I'll be
Okay.
gone.
Any field modifications?
None requested.
Bond letters?
None requested.
And then I'd like to announce that I signed this week the Rose Farm plans.
You did what?
But we don't have the,
Mylar.
the final vinyl, yes, the final copy yet. Barb's working on that. But so that was 7 signatures times 4, 'cause 4 sets. And those sets, so much paper, Barb said, look, you take 2 and I'll take 2.
Yeah, really.
A lot of paper, holy mackerel. But thought you'd be interested to know that we've got that far with that project. Dave?
I do have an announcement. If I
Oh,
may.
good.
Not Columbo, but
Yeah.
it's not like 11 o'clock.
The
so
first-
you can't do it.
This is your one announcement.
Yeah. You can't do a Columbo until like 10:30. So I would like, been talking about the rezoning effort that I've been looking at with the MPOC, keeping the planning board abreast. I went to I don't know if anyone got a chance to watch the select board Monday night, but I attended that meeting and gave them a little brief update on it, because what I realized was it was a pretty larger effort than just I could do, because it's going to take some public forums and public outreach, and maybe some public forums where you have breakout groups or whatever. You do a variety of things to get public input that just one person can't accommodate. So I submitted for $45,000 for an Invest New Hampshire grant that came out just a few weeks ago through the Inflation Reduction Act, and I got awarded it. So I went 45,000. Yeah, fast. No town match required. Yeah, they turned it right around. It was
What kind of grant was it? What was this called?
Invest New Hampshire.
Invest New Hampshire.
It's for planning. It's more for housing. Its target is housing, and a lot of what we're looking at with rezoning is to try to address, the regional housing need, because I think Exeter does a great job. We have a very diverse housing stock here, but I think everyone that I've talked to, committees, Housing Advisory Committee, Planning Board, MPOC, town staff, other municipal officials want to keep that diversity and try to provide, places where all workers, residents, folks of Exeter can live and afford to live here. So there's like an affordability component to it as well, or available housing.
Density.
Well, density, yeah, that's where I was going, and part of it kind of touches upon what we were talking about tonight and the cumulative impacts. It's not associated with one project, because what I'm looking at as part of the rezoning effort, I'm looking at all the kind of the limiting factors of growth. There's multiple, systems that have limited capacity, like your sewer capacity. You can only treat so many gallons of this sewage every day. Unfortunately, we just built a brand new sewer treatment plant. They have plenty of capacity. The capacity there in the sewer system is not necessarily the gallons a day we can treat, but the pipes in the ground to get it there, and the pump stations to lift it and put it into the pipes to get it there. So the collection systems, there's various different sewer sheds, so there's varying capacities in each one of these, but the town's doing a really great job. DPW, Mappa are looking at all that to see what our capacities are with sewer, water. We're looking at transportation network capacity, school capacity. I've had a conversation with the superintendent the other day. They're doing a kind of a school capacity, looking what can they absorb before you get to a critical point where you have to invest a significant amount of money in capital improvements.
Yeah.
But why I'm bringing that up is with the cumulative effect, natural resource capacity is one of the only ones that you really can't create any more of. Once you've lost, like if you come up to your sewer capacity, you can always make a capital investment in the plant or the infrastructure to increase the capacity. I mean, in theory, you can, but once you fill in a wetland, you're not going to recreate that. You can try to mimic it. Stormwater BMPs that's what they're trying to do, like underground gravel wetlands and those. So they're trying to mimic the natural environment, and they can somewhat in some aspects, but wildlife habitat they can't. Biodiversity they usually can't. So water quality they're getting much better with, and water filtration they can create systems that somewhat mimic, but not as good. So I guess one part of that rezone is looking at land use and saying, okay, if you can have, this type of land use or this type of land use, which one would you want from an environmental and fiscal perspective? And I'm of the belief it's more of, if you concentrate redevelopment, try to redevelopment on an existing impervious surface areas. So try to incentivize the reuse of existing impervious surface areas by giving enough incentive to say, build here. Because if you redevelop a site that has impervious surface area, you usually decrease your impervious surface because you put landscaping, you usually increase the stormwater drainage, because right now there's none, because it was probably built in the 60s and it's straight pipe to the nearest water body right now. So then they capture it, treat it, tree filters, so everything from an environmental perspective on a redevelopment usually gets better than before.
Yes.
When you talk about greenfield development, it can't, because you're impacting the system, and not to say I'm saying, no greenfield development. I think it's appropriate for certain types of uses like commercial and so forth, but residential really should, you should focus it in on existing impervious surface area, where you don't add infrastructure either. You're not adding any new infrastructure, no new roads, because impervious surface area probably is served by water, sewer, sidewalks, drainage right now. So you can add units and grow, but you're not adding to your existing infrastructure. So you just have more payers on the system to pay for the same infrastructure. That's if you're going to grow. So I'm excited about that. So, I think I've said that spiel a couple times, but just wanted to repeat it on the natural resource capacity, because that's what we're looking at. You only have so much.
On the natural resource capacity, when you're addressing it from a zoning aspect, in addition to all the stuff you already said, is there a way to look at, and I don't know if this would definitely be atypical for any zoning board or zoning regulations I've ever heard of, but to consider natural impacts by where you are in relationship to the river or the wetlands, just what can you do to a property that borders the river, or borders the creeks. And I'm just thinking things like, we already have stuff in town on fertilizers and stuff like that, but there are areas where it's exceptionally sensitive. And I don't know if there's maybe a creative way to think about those, if you have a grant to really just holistically
Yeah,
look
I'm
at it
not
all.
sure. I mean, maybe we want to talk offline. I'm thinking like proximity is buffers.
Right.
I mean, unless you rank some sort of system or put in criteria to say, okay, this is much more sensitive a system than this system.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't know the answers because I'm just brainstorming.
I got you.
But, so I don't know what the answer is, but it seems like might be something worth looking at. What are the most sensitive areas?
Yeah, I think we've done that.
Okay.
We've done a lot of that work, like in natural resource planner, Kristen would
So
look
to work
at
it
that.
into the zoning plan.
Yeah, definitely. It's all part of it. We need to look at it. We need to, look at where we want, to grow.
Right.
And
like where instead of limiting the type of fertilizer, you might say no, or to certain chemicals or things like that.
No, absolutely. We're looking at an environmental perspective and looking at it from a fiscal perspective, because usually they go hand in hand, which is kind of uncommon. I don't think that's the general thinking, is if, sites that have the most fiscal benefit to the town are usually the ones that are the most environmental friendly. And I don't mean greenfield, I'm talking about redevelopment of existing sites. Usually the environmental situation gets improved. Whereas you can't do that on a greenfield site. You can't improve on a wet meadow and some upland, that's just left natural. No matter what you do, it's going to impact it. Right. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but it is going to impact it. Where redevelopment of an existing site, you can actually improve the situation. Where you just can't otherwise. So it's and fiscally, from the standpoint of
it's a win-win.
Long-term finances and more payers for the same system, it's a fiscal benefit too. So, yeah, we'll be looking at that. Feel free to, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, I believe, for public input and so forth over the next few months because we're going to ramp it up. So, stay involved, keep talking. We're trying to look at everything.
Okay.
Got a good team, got Horsley Witten Group on board. They did our master plan. Nate Kelly is taking the lead. He's a very good planner. And Jeff Davis is another good planner out of Horsley Witten Group. That's is kind of the second guy that's working with us the most. So.
Well, and they know Exeter.
They know Exeter. They know zoning. They're really excited about this project because it's kind of like doing stuff that people aren't doing that maybe should be doing.
Can it mesh with the bike and walking plan?
Good.
Is there a way to integrate those?
Definitely being integrated.
Yeah, definitely something to do. Yeah, something to that. Yeah, something to do with it. I don't know directly. I don't know because it's coming from a different. Everything's connected, obviously. Right. This is coming more of a perspective to try to if we are going to grow. In which we do have capacity. Outside of natural resource capacity, we have capacity in all those other areas, and we're working on that to kind of provide data and evidence to that fact. But then again, if you do bump up to those, down the road, if you get enough development, then it's a policy decision. Do you want to, grow more and add more capacity? Well, that's a decision. But right now, there seems to be capacity to handle all those different. There might be some transportation network limited, capacities, but those usually can be handled through development and, like the left turn, center turn lane or something like that. We can usually handle those through the development process. But I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with that. I get off on a tangent on this.
It's a good tangent to get off on.
But suffice to say, there'll be a lot of opportunity for public comment. Stay involved. Going to probably bring it to the MPOC and then to the planning board and vet it. The Housing Advisory Committee is also very interested because a big component of this is, providing, trying to incentivize the creation of, affordable housing as well.
Part of our planning, right?
Which usually is, not always, but usually is connected to a little bit more density.
Right. Density in the right place.
Density in the right places, yeah. I mean, we're doing a walking tour from, am I telling you, stealing your thunder?
No, you're not at all, keep going.
Okay, Housing Advisory Committee next week, right?
It's Thursday?
Next Thursday.
Number 2.
We're doing a walking tour and showing of various multifamilies and mixed-use properties. It kind of all feeds into this whole thing about with the rezoning too, because we have properties on that walk. One property in particular is the assessed value per acre from a land use productivity standpoint, which I said at the select board the other night. I'm not a big fan of the term, run government like a business, because we have the public interest in mind and we're not a for-profit, so they diverge. I believe, like a perfect example I use is like the fire department actually makes revenue off ambulance calls. If you're in a for-profit business, you want to increase ambulance calls to increase your revenue. Right. Public safety doesn't work that way. We want to decrease ambulance calls because we want to make our communities safer. Right. But when it comes to land use productivity can be looked as that. Like, okay, if you're going to allow development or encourage development, what's the productivity of that land? And we have a parcel on the walking tour that's 15,550,000 of a total assessed value per acre. So the acre, it's a quarter acre lot, but it has almost $4 million worth of assessed value to it. So if you expand that in a per acre assessed value, you're getting $15.5 million of assessed value per acre. And you can translate that into your mill rate, divide it by 1,000 and times by, I think, 2401 or whatever it is to get out, the taxes generated. But it's 15.5. As you go out into rural areas where it's 2 acre zoning and so forth, you're looking at 185,000 to 250,000 total assessed value per acre. But you're usually looking at even more infrastructure, like 200 feet of roadway and I'm not saying anything against different, I'm not trying to berate.
The way you said that.
I'm not trying to berate or demean any land uses. I'm just trying to put out the facts, put out the numbers, put out the data, and then it's up to the community to decide what kind of development do you want going forward, and these are the benefits and drawbacks to each.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it.
Jenna, you kind of looked like you had a question. I was going to give you a minute.
I have a comment about that and then a question about the previous discussion. My comment really quick about that was I saw recently a graphic of the idea that you just showed, like somebody actually mapped like per parcel, looking at all different cities, like the tax revenue. Yeah, and it's like so fascinating. I was wondering if somebody could do that for Exeter. It'd be so cool.
We are doing that. Urban 3 is actually doing that for us right now.
Oh, cool.
Urban 3 came about 2 years ago through the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, did 16 communities in New Hampshire from like a 10,000 foot view and kind of a thumbnail view. But then they asked 4 communities, and I was involved, they asked us, and we said yes, to do a fiscal analysis on us, and it's happening right now. We provided it at no cost to us.
Oh, I was wondering if it was this, because I remember you telling us about that, and I was wondering if it was the same thing. Okay, Urban 3 is
it's probably Urban 3, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And they are doing it right now. I provided them the information like maybe a month and a half ago, so we should have, it was a 3D image of how high. They do 3D mapping and they show the town and then.
It looks like this.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Taxes generated, yeah.
Bar graph.
Yeah.
No, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's.
But it's like a 3D map of your city as a bar graph or your town. It's just, it's really fascinating. I could look at this stuff all day.
Yeah, the higher spots are where you get the most tax revenue. Lower spots are where you get the least.
And then it goes down too, right?
And then it goes down, like it shows you your sinks.
Your sinks.
Because not all land use is created the same. If one land use, you generate $10,000 worth of taxes from here, that land use might cost the town $14,000. But this other land use might generate $10,000, but only cost you $6,000.
So it's not just the revenue side, they're working in the cost of maintaining that, services?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and it shows that like cul-de-sacs are like crazy sink, and it also, part of it is how, the downtown businesses and residents are actually subsidizing the, 4-acre lot, McMansion buildings, but that's sort of, but anyway, that's really fascinating. But my clarification about the work that Horsley Witten's doing is what's the deliverable on that? Are they going to provide like revisions to our zoning code or recommendations to revisions?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much a wholesale revision to our zoning ordinance. I created a draft rezoning map to go maybe we got like 19 zones. I think it's very confusing. I don't think it's needed. After a while, you just kind of, you think of stuff and you add it, and then it becomes like cumbersome.
So
this is really going to be like
clean house, and I envision probably going down to 8 zoning districts. Potentially 8 or 9, with descriptions, because ours aren't described right now. What are they for? Like, describe the purpose of the district and so forth. And a whole new use table. And, looking at it, right now we're looking at creative ways to incentivize redevelopment. Like, for example, you take a parcel, if you maintain the existing impervious surface area, you don't increase it. Well, you don't have any density requirements. You still have parking and height that you bump up to as a limiting factor, but it doesn't matter how many units you put on. If you increase your IA, you don't get that bonus. So you're back down to the second layer of zoning, like, okay, all right, well, if I cut trees down, I can do 4 homes. If I don't, I can do 10. Which one are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you just incentivize it. So you get the type of development that is more fiscally and environmentally beneficial to the town. But then, I'm just gonna present this, it's gonna be for the community to decide on it, and you folks to, well, first, you folks to decide. Is that kind of how you want to move forward? It's going to be your choice. I'll just present you the data.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a walking tour. It's a reminder for next Thursday. It's going to start at the town hall, 4 o'clock, 4 to 6.
And then the best part.
Aaron, we'd love to have you come. You look like you're a little skeptical about this.
And the Colombo stage of the meeting.
This is the fun discussion.
I don't know what the Colombo stage is, but okay. Yeah, but I don't know what. Anyway, so I'll just make this as quick as possible.
I had a motion in my hand.
There's an invite on the town website. It's on the after the fold. I say it's. If you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see it as an event. There is a RSVP. So if you want to come, it would be great if people could RSVP. And it's just because there's an after event at the Sea Dog, so it would be helpful to know how many people are going to be going into Sea Dog afterward. And the walking map is there, so if you don't get to town till 4:30 and you park downtown, you know where everyone's gonna be. The title is Housing, Hiding in Plain Sight, and it's an educational thing to show what we have for diverse housing already, what it looks like. So, but yeah, we're pretty excited about it, and, David, you touched on it, but could you there's a map. It's a storyboard map that we worked on for the Housing Advisory Committee with Rockingham Planning Commission. And of course, it completed when COVID hit. So the getting it out in public has still not happened. However, there's a link to it on our town website. David's updated the data just this week. So it shows, I think we picked 17 properties. There's about 60 photos, but it gives the data of the value per acre. Does that sound right?
It gives the value per acre, it gives the density per acre.
Yes,
And
so it's data there available.
There is a significant correlation between density and assessed value per acre. It's not every time you go up. There might be some larger parcels that have a higher total assessed value per acre than others, and a lower density, but it's rare. It basically has a good correlation that, for example, that 15 and there's one at 15.5 million, that's the highest end, like 66 units an acre.
Yeah.
And it has a $15.5 million assessed value per acre.
Yeah, but it's all good educational, data-driven information, so we can, as a town, make decisions on how we want to use it.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Aaron,
letting me plug that.
I was gonna make a motion, but I'm not sure. Are we ready for it, Dave?
Yeah, I am.
Are you sure?
Unless you want to talk more. I have nothing else.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you so much for your time and your additional information.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.